Live. Hi everyone, and welcome to our webinar, How to Hire and Manage Your Distributed Team Without Risks. I'm Joanna, I'm part of the Landing.Jobs team, and I will be your moderator for today. And we know that hiring non-local talent comes across as an option for many companies due to the globalization of work, but relocation still plays its part, with many companies choosing to have all employees in the same country due to labor law constraints, differences in time zones, and also to make sure they are compliant with the law. Today, we are going to understand how OutSystems and Fidel have been dealing with hiring talent worldwide and how you can pay your workers compliantly. And for that, I'm here with Maria Barbosa, Managing Associate at CCA Law's firm Labor Department, Isabel Costa, Lead Talent Acquisition at OutSystems, and Beatriz Lourenço, Talent Manager at Fidel. Maria, Isabel, and Beatriz, thank you so much for being here with us today. Can you quickly introduce yourselves?
Yes, well, I may start by myself. I'm Maria. I'm the Managing Associate of CCA's Labor Department. And specifically regarding this matter, this has been a really challenging year because due to the COVID pandemic, the increase of employees, workers, services providers that are performing work all around the world has changing the way how people work. So we have been asked several times to analyze whether these people may be recruited in Portugal, work in Portugal for companies from abroad, and this experience and the legal difficulties relating to this will be addressed in this webinar.
Isabel, do you want to go?
Sure. Hi, everyone, and thanks, Landing, for inviting OutSystems to be here. I'm Isabel Costa. I'm Lead Talent Acquisition for the team in EMEA in India. So like that, you can already see that we work across different countries. I'm lucky enough to work at a company where we don't have that many problems like Maria was mentioning, because we have a few different entities and a lot of companies that help us with hiring, including Landing.Jobs. So thank you for that, guys. I've been at OutSystems since, it was 1 year yesterday. So happy work birthday to me.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I joined the company while we were already in the pandemic. So I'll tell you a little bit about how it was before, because of course I've heard and I know, but we will also talk about the challenges and wins of working in a global company in pandemic times.
Nice, thank you, Isabel. Beatriz.
Cool. Hi everyone, thanks for the invite for being here.
Frozen.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me well?
Yes.
We can hear you, yes.
Yeah, is it working?
You are a bit frozen in the image, but the sound is okay.
Well, weird. My Wi-Fi is working well. Not sure what's happening. Okay, anyways, I will just present myself and then we can continue. I'm Beatriz. I am talent manager at Fidel. I have joined Fidel 2 years ago, actually. It will be 2 years now in March. I actually started in the first week of the pandemic, so it has been interesting, I would say. So we have been through the process of, dealing with all of this pandemic, the changes, hiring remotely, etc. And I'm leading all of the HR and recruitment for the EMEA region, and then all of the remote people that we have across the globe.
Nice, thank you so much. And just before we go to our conversation, if our audience has any questions throughout the session, please feel free to ask your questions in the Ask a Question button you find in the bottom right of Crowdcast. And also feel free to leave your comments in the chat and we'll keep an eye on it. So first of all, let's start with OutSystems and Fidel's experience in hiring worldwide. Was your company already used to remote work and to have people distributed all over the world, or was this a novelty since March 2020?
Well, I can start, Joanna. OutSystems has been a global company for a while now. So we were already used. The headquarters are actually in Boston, as much as it is a Portuguese unicorn or decacorn now. It's a decacorn. Our headquarters are in Boston, so we are used to that. We already had legal entities in other countries before the pandemic. Singapore was already there, of course, US, in the UK. So this is something that we were already doing for other countries than Portugal, right? For Portugal, it was in office on site team all the time. So we can say that we had the two environments, meaning that even people at the office would have to work remotely with other people in other locations. So we were already used to that, yes.
Beatriz, what about your experience at Fidel?
Okay. So I joined in the first week of the pandemic, exactly. So I was a little bit scared, I gotta say. We already had a couple entities in that helped. We have the UK, the Portugal, and the, sorry, my camera keeps turning off for some reason. And then the US one. And then we just had to start. So we really wanted to hire people to work remotely, but also to work in Portugal. So we were sponsoring both the visa and people to be remote. But I would say that before the pandemic, the company was a lot more office first. And with the pandemic, we realized that we will need to be more flexible. So I would say it changed a little bit the way we see things, for sure.
And what were the main learnings you have when hiring people worldwide? Because it's different for you, or is it exactly the same that you were already used to?
It is different. Apart from time zones, because of course we can adapt to that. When we are hiring people in just one country and it's our own country, there are a few things that we take for granted that we don't question, right? When we need to hire in other locations, and we had a specific new location this last year, it was Romania. We had never hired in Romania, so no one in the team had ever hired there. We needed to adapt to the culture, because as much as we say that we are a global company, there's no such thing as global anything. Even McDonald's has specific meals for specific countries. So globalization is kind of a dangerous word, because we need to understand that people will always keep their cultural traits, right? So when hiring in other countries, we need to have this in consideration, because we need to adapt to the culture. We need to understand that some people, so French and German, for example, are usually more serious, and Spanish people are friendlier and open. And like people in Brazil, they will talk about their kids. People in the US will never mention their family. You cannot even ask for those, and those are legal issues. So there's also this: what can I ask, what is forbidden? So we needed to adapt, for sure, when going to other countries for recruitment.
What about
I do agree there is some cultural I do agree there is some cultural adaptation there, but I would say it's even more, the challenge that we found was a lot more in, like, regarding benefits, agreement related stuff. Like, there are very specific rules and expectations from country to country. For example, in the US, the health insurance is highly valued comparing to other countries. Some countries value more a bonus rather than a base salary. There are a few differences between countries and what people are used to. And it's a big risk when you just want to give the same to everyone and you don't take in consideration what are the expectations per market. But I would say it's mostly there.
At this point, do you find that candidates are more open to working remotely or to relocate to wherever the country is that you want them to relocate?
I think you'll still have both, Joanna. So having so many entities and partners in so many different parts of the globe, we try to let people be, right? So stay in your country, don't relocate. Whenever people, because this new remote work also gave us something new, that is, you can work for any company in the world from your dream country. So people who always wanted to live in Spain or Portugal. Usually these are the most desirable destinations, right? People want to work where it's sunny, where it's cheap, where the food is good and the wine is decent. So people will still want to relocate sometimes, but mostly, and of course I speak from my own experience, we don't talk about relocation that much anymore. People will usually stay where they are, but we are also cautious when it comes to this. We don't open jobs or source for candidates in countries where we cannot hire people. And I don't know if we will get there to can you hire everywhere, but we cannot. As per OutSystems, we have specific countries where we can hire, and that's where we will source for candidates, and that's where we will have open jobs. So relocation is not a part of the process usually, but if it is, we can, usually for the US, we can deal with that as well.
Cool. Actually, my reality at Fidel is slightly different. I do think as well it's because we are a much smaller company. We are still a startup. We are almost 120 now, so I would say the scale is a little bit different. But we actually do offer both relocation and working remotely. And we have actually, I have seen the numbers from last year recently. I would say like almost 40% of our hiring was for remote people that wanted to stay in their countries. And so we allow them to be. We do have some solutions for international hiring, but we'll speak about that, I think, further in the conversation. But we also still find people that want to relocate and say specifically that they went into the hiring process because we are supportive of the visa process to Portugal. So we do have both of them. And this is more than 20% of our hiring, actually. So, but this, I would say this relocation is mostly from Latin America countries, while people in Europe tend to be remote from wherever they are. Not saying that it's always like this, but in the reality of Fidel, it has been.
Yeah.
And maybe you are experienced again these flows of people more willing to relocate, because when the pandemic hit in the beginning, people were not able to travel. Maybe in the beginning, people were more inclined to working remotely because they couldn't relocate. But now you are starting to feel people want to move again from country to country. Is that it?
I would say a little bit more. I think
Yeah.
people started getting out of the shell.
Yeah, it's more that. So I think the pandemic changed our perspectives on a lot of things, but it's exactly what Beatriz said. People are getting more out of the shell. They realizing they can work from anywhere to anywhere. So it's not the ability to travel that much, is the fact that now everything is possible, right? So I think it changed a little bit. Yeah.
Maybe in the beginning we were still in this mindset that we are in working from home, but it's in our homes, we cannot go anywhere because we are stuck at home. But now the working from home, it's not home anymore, it's anywhere you want your home to be, right? It's a very different experience now, and maybe people are still struggling a bit with understanding this. Maybe people are starting to get out of the shell, but maybe in 1 year from now it can be different.
And it also depends on the companies, Juan. I can tell you that, like, we have this motto: what works for you works for OutSystems. I worked from Costa de Caparica, from the beach. So I would be in bikinis, replying to my emails. And whenever I had meetings, I would put on a t-shirt. This is real, okay? This is not, I'm not making this up. But not all companies allow this. Not all companies think this is professional. So it also depends on what kind of companies people have been working for, if it has broadened their horizon, or if they still think they need to be home, as in home, exactly, in the office or the living room. So yeah, but it will change. I think it will still change.
And how are you handling the onboarding processes for these people that are remote? I bet they are very different from the onboarding processes when a person goes to the office.
Well, as Beatriz said, I think that it also depends on the size of the company and what kind of structure they have. So I can give you the OutSystems point of view. we onboard everyone the same way. So it doesn't really matter where people are. Of course, if they are allocated to an office, that means if their contract has been written with a specific office, and Maria can talk more about that, the person will have to go to the office just to pick up the laptop. That's it. So just logistics, right? They go, they pick up the laptop, everything is ready. Whenever someone has a remote contract, and that is possible both for Portugal and for other locations in the world, the laptop will be shipped. So, and that is the only difference. From that moment on, the whole process of onboarding is the same. People will have a specific onboarding session on the first morning. They will learn everything about our platforms, our tools, wherever they need to log into. They will have a buddy in the first weeks, regardless of the region. And everything is pretty much the same. But this can only happen because we have a very solid structure when it comes to creating the users, maintaining all the apps, making sure everyone has access to everything, and then shipping the laptops. The only rule here is we can never hire anyone with less than 2 weeks notice, in order for our digital and logistics team to be able to create everything and then ship the laptops. And trust me, there are some times during the year that shipping is the worst problem of like the whole onboarding process. And Maria nods, yeah.
Definitely.
Sometimes it's a nightmare. Think about Christmas. I don't know.
Yes.
Think about when the whole world is stopped and not even DHL is delivering anything. So yeah, but now everything is coming to some degree of normality. So the process is very smooth, but also because we have a big team spread around the world. Okay.
Yeah, here it's the same when it comes to learning the company, all of the onboarding process. It's a little bit standardized. Of course, different teams have different needs and their manager will work with them. We also have the buddy system. But I would say what changes is more of the initial part: equipment, the HR setup. Does this person have an employment agreement with that entity? Is this person international? Like, how does this work? And then explaining all of the things that person needs to know in the beginning. It might differ from the location that they are in, but it's the same. Everything else, we try to standardize as much to make sure that everyone in the company has the same experience and it doesn't depend on where they are, basically.
And before we start the live webinar, we were talking a bit about the difference in time zones and how are you handling having people all over the world, and how are you handling the communications that need to happen?
Well, it would be amazing to say, oh, everything is so smooth and natural. We're lucky enough, so as everyone in like European time zones, we're lucky enough to be able to get in touch with APAC in the morning and with the US in the afternoon. But this also means that we kind of stay in the middle of like the fire, right? Because we get both. For really important messages, we still need to use email. There's no way around that. So if it's a new document, a new procedure, anything new, we still need to send an email to make sure that everyone sees it, regardless of when they see it. For any other kind of communication, I think we got used to using Slack, that's our tool, or Zooming every now and then. Everyone is talking about Zoom fatigue. Sometimes it's real, yes. Sometimes it's too much, but it's the only tool we have, right? When it was a phone, it was a phone. When it was a face-to-face conversation, it was a face-to-face conversation. So we need to use what we have. And it is still the best way to get in touch with people. So if it's something super fast, we Slack each other, and everyone, like, we have Slack on our phone. So you can even go to the grocery store and answer any question your team has, which is like amazing, right? If it's something that will involve a lot of conversation, let's get into a 5-minute Zoom call and do this really quick. But it's been easier than people, like, at least in my experience, for us, it's been easier than what people make it look like. sometimes the only thing is that you need, and that this is the difference from when we were at the office and the person was right next to us. We need to wait for the person to end any meeting they're at, or an email they're writing, or and checking I don't know, a kind of like some CVs, to reply to you on Slack. So you don't have that thing touch on the shoulder and, hey, can you help me with this? That has ended, of course. But it's been kind of easy, and I think that it's also because of the company culture, and this is one of the good things of working at OutSystems. Everyone is like always super available, and we know that if there's a busy sign on their Slack, don't do it. Like right now I'm doing this with you guys and I have a busy sign and my Slack is completely silent now, because we respect that. Whenever this focus time on the person says they're busy, other than that, everyone is super responsive all the time.
Yeah, here at Fidel, we have been trying to be conscious that not everyone is in the same time zone. We have also trying to target in terms of time zone, for example, since the west coast of the US until Eastern Europe, so we can hire in all of this region. But the thing is, we try to put the people in the right teams to make sure that they don't have a big gap of time zone. And they just did some adaptations. For example, we had a couple engineers in Latin America that it was very hard for them to join our daily stand-ups at 10 a.m. So the team just adapted to be able to include them, and that they don't have to wake up at 4 a.m. So they just did the dailies a little bit later. So I think this needs to be this consciousness from the managers and from people in the team, be a little bit more empathetic, try to be inclusive with time zones. But we do use Slack as well. We do have regular all-hand meetings to make sure that people are updated. And I do feel like when you have a distributed team and you have a lot of people remote, you almost have to over-communicate. Have some team meetings. Email is very needed as well for some communication. Slack kind of need to over-communicate to make sure that everyone gets the message. But honestly, I actually see a lot of advantages of having people in different time zones, because we can work in an asynchronous way. I wake up in the morning and my colleague from the US already did something during her afternoon, and we just become a little bit faster. So it has its challenges, but I think it brings a lot of good things as well.
Agreed. Yes.
Nice. Do you think that it's a bigger challenge to have stronger teams in this context? We were talking a bit about culture and to having teams in different time zones. How are you tackling, because when you are at the office, the team is seeing each other, they can communicate, not only in this professional side, but they can always create a relationship. I think it's easier in the office to do so. How are you tackling this in this reality?
I think it's...
Honestly, I think our teams became stronger, actually. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Beatriz.
No, I was just going to say that I do think we have stronger teams because they are more diverse. They are from different parts of the world. They work in an asynchronous way, so they can be faster in a lot of times. So, of course, it has its challenges of communication, of people not being in person, and sometimes maybe not developing such a close relationship as they would if they would go for lunch every day. But I would say in terms of productivity, working together, being able to deliver on their work, I do think our teams are stronger because they are more diverse and they're able to be more agile as well. So I don't think it has been a challenge on that part.
Well, I agree with Beatriz on part, and I need to disagree on another. So having more diverse teams makes us stronger as a company, especially because we are a product company, right? So having other perspectives, having other ways of thinking, of building things, it has made us stronger as a company, and our product, I believe it's also stronger and more competitive. On the personal side, I cannot tell you how happy I was when I got to hug my manager, who had always been in Boston and who I had never seen until November last year. And she's just my manager. I wouldn't usually hug my manager in Portugal, but when we saw each other, we opened our arms and we actually hugged. So there's no way, and sorry, maybe this is I'm a millennial. I'm not a Gen Z or X or whatever the new generation is. There is no way to overcome this. People will always need people's energy. That's why we are now like going to the office. My team, okay, we are going to the office 2 mornings per week just to have coffee, to look at each other, to be able to hear each other's voices live, to see people. And it's amazing how happy people are to see each other, even people who don't have a really like daily interaction with. So we will never overcome this, but I think the more when I did my first Zoom interview, I was like, there's no way I'm going to connect to the candidates like this. It's like, no way. I love having people in the room offering water, like having a chat, lying back. Okay, this disappeared. It is totally possible to create relationships through a screen, right? Look at what we are doing here. I had never met any of you girls, and we've already like connected. We found so many like interesting common ground. So it is possible. I think we will always need moments for the teams to be together, team buildings, all hands. We will always need to look people in the eye, but everything is possible nowadays. So teams will still be strong, and I think stronger, agreeing with Beatriz. I think diversity is added value to any company, but having people side by side is also something we need as humans.
For sure. I also feel this. I am currently at the office and I have 2 more colleagues here, and I'm very happy about that because we can go have lunch together afterwards. And I see people. It's very nice. It was a long time that we were stuck at home, always looking at our families. Not that we don't love them, but we need to see other people. And for sure, I also share your opinion on this, Isabel. We have stronger teams, but having them on site, it's amazing when we can do that.
It
I
is.
would also like to ask you, how are you dealing with paying your workers compliantly anywhere in the world? Isabel, you mentioned that you have some legal entities across the world, but what about the countries that you don't have them? Are you having workers as contractors? Are you using a partner for this? Several partners for this?
Okay, so whenever we don't have a legal entity and we don't have Landing.Jobs to help us with that, and you've been a great help, actually. It's no one paid me to do this, so like audience, they didn't pay me for this, but they actually help a lot. They also help with, you're not legal counsels, right? But you also help with legal issues with can we do this, can we do that, can we deal with a visa for this, will you help us with the visa? So we can confirm. Good, thank you. So having Landing is one way, but we also have what we call a PEO. So it's actually a partner that we use as the payroll company. The person will still be hired. And if I say something wrong, Maria, although you don't work for OutSystems, the structure is pretty much the same. If I make a mistake, please correct me. We have we act as the employer regardless. People have the same benefits as an OutSystems employee, like normal one, but then payroll is just done through a different company. It's a payroll provider. We also have a few contractors, of course, because elastic companies need to work with those. Those are not that frequent, so we tend to hire people as employees. But then again, we will only hire people as contractors in countries where we have a legal entity, and that is that. That's the only countries where we work with contractors.
Nice.
Cool. Okay, so at Fidel, we do have 3 entities, as I said before, but we do have a lot of people remote working in other countries. We did find the need of finding a tool, a kind of a supplier to make this compliant because we really wanted to hire remotely. We are at the moment working with remote, and we do have both contractor people and we have employees depending on what they want, because some people already worked as contractors and they do just want to keep it. other people just want to work as full-time employees, that's fine. We just make it through remote to make sure it's compliant and we can pay them locally. So that has been our solution. In terms of culture, we do treat employees and contractors exactly the same, and across locations as well. We are all kind of a whole. Doesn't matter the type of agreement you have in the end of the day.
Nice. Thank you so much also for sharing your experience in this new world of hiring remotely. And as Isabella was saying, when we help you also with the legal questions, we have Maria here from CCA. There are our partners on this, and they are the ones that we also go to understand better what is happening in the world. And Maria, maybe I will start by asking you if you can explain a bit of the difference between this employer of record partner and a staffing partner that can be also known as the body shopping or an outsourcing or a nearshoring partner.
So these figures are very different, although they seem very similar, because the reason for companies to resource them is just to try to hire staff or employees working for them, but they are different. So probably I will start with the staffing partner, which is very different. So you may have body shopping. Body shopping is the name that's usually used for IT companies, IT sectors. So if you have like industry, manufacturing, they will never use the expression of body shopping. So it's really, really specific. And in body shopping is just a company that is a services provider or a consultancy company that recruits and retains staff and contracts these employees to other other companies. It's very similar to, I would say, eventually it's sometimes it's very similar to the employment of record, although the employees are employees of the services provider. Outsourcing. So you may have the outsourcing. What's the difference between outsourcing and employment of record? And outsourcing is a movement of business or a specific activity that could be done at a company, but is just changed to move to another company or another company that may be a foreign company or even in a country or a company within your country. When you talk about offshoring, which may be outsourcing or not, is just this movement towards a company that from within your group that it's far away. For instance, for OutSystems, we may talk about India. Probably you have outshored some of your activity just to India because it's cheaper, because it's well known to have really well-skilled people in the IT field. So it's easy to have a company there just working for you. On the other hand, you may also have nearshoring. It's very similar, but it's close to you, where time zones do not make any difference when you are working with people. Just eventually have a gap of 2 hours, which is very, very similar. For instance, in Portugal, we could say that you are nearshoring if you are working with a company or setting a company in Poland, for instance. It's very, very close. And outshoring if you are working with a country that, for instance, India.
Okay.
And the difference here is that the employee or contractor will never be your employee. They will work for you, but they are employed by the outsourcing company, and their culture, their engagement is with the outsourcing company. On the other hand, employment of record, it's exactly the opposite. So the idea is to have your own employee with your culture, your procedures, that knows exactly how you work, working with your laptops, applications, everything is given and provided by the company, but for tax, social security, and some employment-related obligations, they are employed by a host company. Usually the employment of record is used when hiring employees that are located in other countries. For instance, if you are located in Portugal, but you have recruited an employee from the UK, for instance, but you want to be compliant with the rules in the UK, for the employee, it is essential to be, for tax reasons and social security purposes, to be in the UK, not to be engaged with for the Portuguese system. Then you hire, for instance, remote, Landing.Jobs, and an employer of record entity that may help you with all these legal procedures, but you will be like the employer. But in practical terms, please note that the employee has been hired by the foreign entity. So for legal purposes, they are not OutSystems employee, Fidel's employee, they are employed by the employment of record company. So usually when we are working with Landing.Jobs, the problems arise when we want to terminate employment contracts, when there's something that went wrong because our client is not happy with the services that is being provided by the employee. And then the question is, who is able to terminate this employment contract? So these are the issues that may arise when you are working with employment of record companies, but the problem or the issues will always be treated by the employment of record companies. So foreign companies, the clients who hire under these systems, they are always protected. So this is always a good fit when you want to hire employees. Usually you will only hire a few employees, so we are not talking about massive hiring. This figure usually is not used for that purposes, and it's used just to hire a couple of employees. The connections between the employment of record and temporary agencies may be very, very, very close. So this is one of the points that sometimes is addressed. Are you not in a temporary agency? Are you an employment of record agency? There are some differences. So from our point of view, the activity is very, very different, although they are very similar in some points.
Are there currently any regulations for this employer of record? And if so, in which countries? Or are there any regulations in all the countries?
So this is a solution that came up during the pandemic. Some companies used these solutions previously, but it was not very well known. People were also a little bit afraid to use it. Even employees were not comfortable to be hired on an employment of record or PO, it's the same, PO, because they felt like the employer was not located at their country and they were not comfortable with the solution. So it grew massively for the last 2 years, I think during the last 2 years. And right now in Portugal, there is no legislation on that. Companies and also the legislature is already talking about it, but it's just small talk. So it has not been addressed by our parties. The priorities have been totally different. So in Portugal, nothing has been legislated. Some countries in Europe have already regulated it, like France or Germany. And what's the major difference is that they have a time limit to use the employment of record solutions. So it will be 18 months. In very specific situation, it may come to 36 months, but usually there's a very limited time period where the solution may be used.
You refer that in Portugal, there is just some small talk about this issue. Do you have any idea when this may appear in Portugal, this kind of legislation?
Being totally honest, I think that this has not been something that is worrying our legislator, because they don't see the potential that Portugal has on these matters, specifically because Portugal has really, really good IT skilled people that have been attracting foreign companies who want to hire in Portugal for so many reasons. One of them may be, of course, because the salaries are lower, so you may offer employees a lower salary, and for employees to work for the United States. For the United States companies, probably will spare really a lot of money by contracting, finding someone in Portugal. But when will it be legislated? I think this year we will hear a little bit more, because this matter has been addressed, has been taken to the parliament, but I would not expect any law during this year. Eventually, during 2023, we may find something different. Of course, it will depend. It will depend if, I don't know if our audience knows, we just had elections last weekend, and the right wing just changed a lot. And some of the parties of the right wing, they are familiar with these solutions, and eventually they may take to the parliament this matter. One curious point is that in countries where this has been regulated, the solution has been very similar as for temporary agencies, where they need to be duly registered as an employment of record company. I don't know if this will be the solution in Portugal, or if it will just be like it's legal to have this activity, and you just need to follow the standard labor provisions of employment law. So this is something that I'm totally unaware.
Okay, thank you so much, Maria, also for sharing this legal knowledge with us. I hope it clarify any doubts that may have arisen from our audience, and we can now go to the Q&A. But before we go, I know we already have there some questions, and to our audience, if you have any questions, now it's the time to do so in the Ask a Question button. And while we wait for them, I would like to briefly let you also know that Landing.Jobs can be your workforce management partner, since with our payment solution, you can pay your tech or non-tech talent anywhere in the world, wherever they are. Either they are permanent employees or contractors, and we will provide you with the full service from the moment that they are hired. And this includes local and international contracts, payroll processing, benefits management, and also compliance services. And if it's the case, we can also provide you with visa and relocation services. And with this solution, you can hire your talent without risk, since they can start working with you right away, right the moment that they are hired and they are available. And you can test the fit of the person in a real work context, being it remotely or not, before you decide for the internalization or even for the relocation. And in the meantime, this person is working with you, and the payments and all the labor laws are done compliantly through Landing.Jobs. Thank you so much also for this brief moment. And we can now go to the Q&A, and we have here a question about benefits. And it asks, do you have a global policy for benefits management, or it depends country by country? I think Beatrice already referred a bit about this.
Yeah, we do have a global policy. The thing is, with the global policy,
I think that Beatrice is not.
You can hear me.
No, we can. Go, Beatrice, go.
We can hear you. I don't think you can hear us.
I can hear you.
It's with a lot of delay. I think that you are listening to me at the right when I speak, and Beatrice is not.
Okay, so let me go first. So I was just saying that we do
It's the delay.
Okay, we do have a global policy, but then we need to have local suppliers to help, because like sometimes you do find a supplier that can serve multiple locations, but sometimes it's not even ideal or doesn't cover the needs. Health insurance is a great example of that. We do have other ones too, but we do have a global policy. We try to treat everyone the same, so everyone has access to the same benefits. But sometimes we need to make some adjustments depending on location, depending on what the market values there. Sometimes candidates just value something more in the place where they are. We just try to be conscious of that, but try to give the same to everyone.
Okay. At OutSystems, we do have global policies. For example, everyone is entitled to stock options for the company. Everyone has a health insurance. Everyone's family will receive participation of 50% on the health insurance, and this is for the whole world. Okay, so this is even in the United States, where insurances are slightly like more expensive than in Portugal. We do this, and I think Beatriz mentioned this, that for example in the US health insurance is a thing, of course, like they have to pay for every single time they like set foot in a hospital. But health insurance in the United States is super, super expensive. But that policy covers the whole world. Then, as Beatriz also mentioned, we have specific benefits. For example, employees in Portugal will have a car regardless of what they do. In other countries, only salespeople have cars. So this is... we have specific benefits depending on the geo, especially also because legally remote workers have different benefits depending on the country where they work. In France and Germany, Maria already mentioned this, we have to pay specific amounts as work from home allowance, because the law says that there are specific amounts that we need to pay. So in those cases, people will have a specific allowance for that. In Portugal, we also have work from home allowance because we try to make it global, but ours is lower since the law doesn't specify a number. And for example, in Dubai, we need to pay for the children's school. In Portugal, we don't do that, but we offer cheque creche, which is a specific ticket for parents to pay their son's schools, their kids' schools. So although it is global, and I think that all companies are trying to do this, we have global policies, but then we also have local benefits depending on what the market sees as important, or what can make a difference between being hired by a Portuguese company or a local company. So we try to make it even.
Okay. Thank you so much for your answer. Do you think that inside a company there are teams that are more ready to work remotely than others?
I definitely think so. I think also, like, even about like cultural or personality things, some people just enjoy working 100% remotely and get together twice a year, and some people really like to go to the office. That's also why we kept our offices at Fidel. We have a very hybrid mode of you can choose between the office and working from home. So I do think definitely some teams love working from home, love being remote, and other teams are not so ready for that. They really feel the need to be together, and we just make sure that they have a safe space and the support to do that. So I definitely think so. It varies, and also varies from legal perspective, from location to location. Some countries really regulated stuff, like you said very well. Other countries are just more flexible, and you can be in Costa de Caparica, like Isabel said, from the beach working. So it just depends, but I do think it varies a lot, in my opinion, at least.
In our case, we don't see that difference. So all the teams, maybe because the company grew like this, so it was organic, right? It was just Linda Velha, and then it was Boston, and then it was London, and then it was Dubai, and then it was Singapore. So like all the teams learned to work remotely one way or the other. Even when they were sitting at the office, their colleagues were not at the office, at least not all of them. So in our case, I think that, and I was thinking about that, and I thought maybe legal, no, but legal is okay with that. Maybe marketing, no, but marketing is super global. Talent acquisition, I was like, no, we're super global too. So I think in our case, all teams are equally ready and comfortable in working remotely.
Okay, nice. And we have one last question here. I think this question is a whole webinar itself and is a whole new discussion. But when hiring remotely in different countries, how do you calculate the salary if your talent is in different countries without disrupting the local markets? Or how are you handling
Mercer?
this?
You have Mercer, because Mercer helps a lot. So
Okay.
in our case, we have companies that help with local salaries. So we don't have one band for everything. We actually have different salary bands according to the skills, of course, and then also according to the markets. What sometimes happens is that Mercer, as good as they are, they're not right, or the market is not really like that. So after a few months, so 6 months, we go back to our benefits and compensation team. We take all the data we gathered from recruiting during that time, and we check the number of rejections we got from out of band salary expectations. And sometimes we review. So when we start a new market, we start with the help of a consultancy company, but then we adapt it ourselves, and then we review it frequently.
Okay.
Yeah, in our case, we do try to make some adjustments. I would say this has been one of our biggest challenges when growing so fast as we are growing. We are hiring massively. Lately, we are kind of in this hyper growth phase. So I would say this was one of the biggest challenges, also because the market is changing a lot. It's becoming more challenges. We have more competition. So we had to kind of rethink, okay, are we still being competitive? Are we being fair to people in different locations? So we do try to make the research of what is the market salary for these roles. Should we offer more? Should we offer less? Depending on what people are asking for. But I would say it has been a challenge, and it's not easy to do that in a fair way, especially for people who want to relocate and stay with us for some time working remotely and then eventually ask to relocate. Then there is a difference of salary, and how does that work? But yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So we reached the end of our questions. So I want to thank you, Maria, Beatriz, and Isabel, for your time and availability, for sharing your experience and your knowledge with us. I would also like to thank our audience for being here with us today, and I hope to hear from all of you soon. I think we will have some webinar in the future regarding these questions of salary, because it's a very debatable topic. And I would also like to tell our audience that if you have any questions, if you want to know more about Landing.Jobs services, you can get in touch with us. You have our email in the chat. And I wish you all a great week, a great day, and I hope to see you all very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. This was fun. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.